Hey guys, on today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Zack Snyder doubles down saying that he believes Batman should kill in the movies. Do we agree with them? Also, Mandalorian star says that right now, he's not aware of any plans to do a Mandalorian season 4. We're going to talk about that. Also, James Gunn says that he would love to work with former CW Flash actor Grant Gustin. Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, J.K. Simmons are all returning for The Accountant 2. So is the director and original writer. I'm so psyched about that. Shogun has set an all-time viewership record for Hulu. And of course, this Sunday is the Oscars. We're going to give our final predictions on the Oscar wins and what could be the biggest surprises of the night. That and a few things more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but also giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, never mind whether they're the same or a little bit different than ours. Joining me in studio today, we got Ray Ora.
Is Robin here?
We got Jonathan Voico.
What up?
We got the delightful Chris Carr.
Sorry, I was trying to get to chat, you guys.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. In the first part of the show, we're going to go over all those topics that I just listed off. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, before we get into any of that, just want to say happy Oscar Day or week to everybody. Other than Christmas Day, the Oscars are my favorite day of the year. And I have my frustrations with the Oscars and my thoughts about the Oscars, much as anybody else. But with all that aside, it is to me my second favorite, as a movie fan, is my second favorite day of the year. I absolutely love going in, seeing the movie industry kind of try to honor the best of the year. And sometimes they, pick the ones I'd pick, and sometimes they don't, but whatever, it's always a fabulous time. So I'm looking forward to that this weekend. All right, guys. With all that down, let's get things started here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. Now, of course, there was a lot of, for different reasons, controversy surrounding the DCEU. Going right back to the beginning of them, when Zack Snyder created what I believe to be the most underrated comic book film of all time, the masterpiece that is Man of Steel. I love that film so much. Now, the controversies continued once he did Batman versus Superman, which raised a big question with a lot of fans. Would Batman kill people? Because there's a lot of people out there who believe that Batman would never, ever, under any circumstances, no matter what, ever, from all of past to all of future, ever kill somebody. And Zack Snyder was kind of like, well, this Batman does, which brought up a lot of debate. Now, Zack Snyder re-raised this debate on the Joe Rogan podcast the other day, when basically, with headlines like this, we see that, he's doubling down, saying, hey, listen, I just really believe Batman would and should kill. And he brings up a very interesting point. And here's why I think that what Snyder is talking about right here is relevant right now. Because we are getting ready to start a brand new DCU. And we're going to get a brand new Batman. And this question, I believe, is going to be a part of the discussion. Is this Batman going to be one that obviously is not looking to go out and mass murder people, but is this going to be a Batman that, given a terrible set of circumstances, this Batman would kill people? Now, Zack Snyder tells this really interesting story about how, when WB first was talking to him, when they were getting ready to make Batman versus Superman, and they said, there's a rule, Batman doesn't kill. Which, by the way, is not historically accurate. In the comic books, Batman has killed. We'll go into that in just a second. But they said, okay, Batman doesn't kill, that's canon. And to which Zack Snyder kind of replied, and I'm paraphrasing, it's like, well, there are going to be situations where maybe Batman would have to kill. And some of the WB executives at the time said, well, just don't put Batman in a situation where he'd have to do that. And Zack Snyder took issue with that. And I take issue with that too. Because to say that Batman has this absolute code that he's that he is fiercely committed to, he won't kill, but you're just telling me as a storyteller, never put him in a situation where that might be the only option. Like, to me, that's like somebody saying, I would never steal from the bank. But this is a person who has never been and never would be in a position where they even could. So what value is there saying, I have this code if you never, or some man saying, I would never touch a woman. Okay, that's great, but you live on an island with all men. So it's great for you to say, I have this code. And Snyder took issue with that. I said, like, what are we doing here? If we're just saying he does that, but we're only going to accomplish that by never putting him in a position. And you know what? That manifested itself in Man of Steel. When Superman, at the end, Zack Snyder decided to put Superman in an impossible situation. It's him versus Zod. He knows that Zod is now proclaimed, my mission in life now is to kill every human being on Earth. That's now my mission. I'm going to kill every human being on Earth. And I'm going to start with this little family standing in the corner. Superman won't be able to stop him. He'll be able to slow him down here and there. He'll be able to wrestle him, whatever, but he's dealing with a lifelong military guy, and he was put in a position where it's like Superman either has to allow the deaths of hundreds of thousands, millions, or billions, or he's got to kill Zod. Superman did what Superman would do. He made the horrible choice to kill Zod because the only other alternative was letting Zod kill tons of other people. And I got to say, I agree with Zack Snyder on this. Not the Superman issue per se, but with the Batman issue. That Batman would kill. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to go that far back in comic book history, just back like to the years of Jason Todd as Robin. There was this one, I often go back to this one, but Batman's talking to Jason Robin. He says, I'm not a murderer, son. Murder is the line we must not cross. To which Jason says, you've killed before. To which Batman's response is, in self-defense, Jason, you're well aware that we play a dangerous game, a game I perhaps should not have involved you in. Right?
I shouldn't have brought my adopted son into this life of
a vigilante. I shouldn't have brought a child into a world of mass murderers. Go figure. Oh, the parental instincts of Batman. I mean, so clearly he has killed in the comics. He has justified killing in the comics and stuff like that. And of course, now then you can say, yeah, okay, John, that's fine. But recently in the comics, Batman has this unbreakable code. Okay, that's fine. But I've always said this. Like, I remember this one comic book story, and you guys have followed me for any period of time have probably heard me reference this story. But there was one comic issue I'm reading. This is very, very representative of Batman. Batman's, hunting down these thugs who hide out in kind of an abandoned, broken down house. And one of them's upstairs, and Batman, of course, comes out of the shadows of the rafters, grabs the guy, and it wasn't quite a rock bottom, but it kind of looked like a Dwayne The Rock Johnson rock bottom, heaves the guy up, or not the tombstone, but what's the one when Undertaker picks him up by one hand and then...
Chokeslam.
The chokeslam. It was kind of more like a chokeslam. It was a cross between a rock bottom and a chokeslam. He picks up this thug, and of course he slams him so hard that, and this is an old decrepit house, the villain, the thug breaks through the floor and falls like 10, 12 feet onto the ground, and you see Batman's thought bubble. 4 broken ribs, a ruptured spleen. He'll be in traction for months. It's like, oh, okay. But you see, this is a representation of how the comic book writers cheat so Batman can have this code. Because if you were to pick up a human being and rock bottom them through a decrepit floor, down 12 feet, onto a concrete floor, listen, a million things outside of Batman's calculations could have happened. A piece of wood could have been angled a certain way on the bottom. His head could have cracked on the floor first. Basically, if that happened, that dude would have died. But the comic book writers cheat, and they say, no, he doesn't die. He's just going to be in traction. Batman can do everything that will kill people, but the writers just give him an out by saying, but he just hospitalized.
They're fine.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fine. That's fine in the comic books. You can do that in the comic books. It becomes a much harder sell when you're trying to have any sort of, to quote Rob, verisimilitude, any sort of reality. And so I am going to be perfectly okay if James Gunn decides to adopt the modern interpretation of Batman, that under no set of circumstances will Batman ever, allow his actions to lead to the death of another person. Okay, I'll be fine if James Gunn wants to do that. But I would also be fine if James Gunn decided to embrace a wider philosophy of Batman through the longer period of time of Batman, where it's like, look, yeah, Batman absolutely does not want to kill, but under certain circumstances, whether it's by accident because of his extreme violent nature, or because of a no-win situation he's placed in, that he does. And I happen to think Zack Snyder is bang on about this as we head into the new era of Batman. I know there's going to be a lot of people that disagree, and that's fine. I'm just telling you history of what they've done in the comics and what seems to me to make sense. Anyway, Chris, you've followed this debate that's been going on now for a couple of years as well. We're moving into a new era of DC. James Gunn's about to introduce us to a new Batman. Is Zack Snyder right or wrong that if you're going to try to have any kind of realism to a Batman, you have to be okay with him killing? Yes? No? What do you think?
I understand why he says this. I do want to just illuminate, as also the author of this Gizmodo article does, is he did say this on the Joe Rogan podcast. So there is a very specific type of audience that he wants to appeal to.
Yeah, we kill.
Yeah.
We kill.
But this is also reflecting stuff he has said for years.
He said this
right?
before.
But it's a
But
nice joke.
this particular little clip there, though, is like, that makes sense. That tracks. I can understand all of this. From a comic book standpoint, Batman has potentially killed before, too, that we've seen, or it's been alluded to, right? Killing Joke. The idea of that Alan Moore piece is that at the end, he probably does kill the Joker. But we also have other things like the Dark Knight Annual, where we have the Joker begging for Batman to kill him. Release us both from this torment we're both in.
Right.
Release us both from this game. And what's so interesting then is Batman counters with, oh, I want to kill you. I want to kill you more than anything I've ever wanted in my life. But I believe in the sanctity of life above all other things, so I won't. And he talks about that ad nauseum throughout the comics. It's that fine line that will separate him from the people who murdered his parents, from the other thugs and criminals of Gotham's underbelly, and the only thing that can keep him from full darkness, right? Now, I think you can explore that world, though, of, hey, if we are working within the parameters of what's real in the real world, still with comic book kind of allowances, right? What Batman can or can't do physically to somebody. You have those moments then of, does he stop pulling a punch? Does somebody else have to intervene? Does he cross a line ever? That's a really compelling story to explore. I do think one of the more interesting things about Batman, though, is that fine line. To be a hyper-violent person who has to continually stop yourself. Because if we do have him start killing people just willy-nilly, then we've got a Punisher comic, which is fine. That
Or
serves
an
its
Injustice
purpose.
Gods Among Us situation.
Exactly. And those other characters exist. And I do think that is one of the more interesting things here. And I also enjoy that Batman himself views himself and the other heroes as people who could potentially need to be put down. I think that any form of corrupted power bothers Batman. So I feel like you can explore it, but I think the moral code is one of the things that is just very integral to the character. That's just me as a comic book fan, but I can understand other people saying, hey, let him do it. Let's have a story where that happens. Try it with an Elseworlds. Do whatever you want.
See, what would be really interesting to me is a Batman that had that code, but then be a little bit more realistic, where while pursuing somebody in the Batmobile and he fires off the rockets, the guy dies as a result. Maybe he didn't intend to kill him. He didn't want to kill him. Maybe when he kicks that thug in the chest, one of his ribs cracks off, goes through his lung. He didn't intend to kill him. I'd be really interested to see a movie where Batman has that code, and yet inevitably, as the result of the way he conducts himself. Mr. Sunday Movies, I think that's who it is. Mr. Sunday Movies on YouTube made this video once that's basically called the Batman Body Count, where it goes through all the previous Batman movies, like going up from the Tim Burton to Christopher Nolan, and like the body count, because he was noticing that a lot of people got upset that Zack Snyder had Batman kill people. And Mr. Sunday Movies, I actually don't even know what position Mr. Sunday Movies takes on the issue of Batman killing people, but he did put together this video showing, here's a body count of all the times in all the other movies Batman has clearly killed people, and no one ever said a thing about it. Maybe that's because it was still closer to the age when in the comics Batman was still saying he does kill in self-defense.
I'm pretty sure in '89 Batman, he's got a body count.
Yeah.
Oh, in 89. Oh, yeah. And in Christopher Nolan's Batman movies and like all that kind of stuff.
In all superhero movies, unless there is an abandoned warehouse district, like everyone's dying. They are toppling buildings. They're doing all kinds of stuff.
But I mean, like
murdering.
to your point, one of the great things about Batman, and I think the greatest manifestation of it is Injustice: Gods Among Us. About Injustice: Gods Among Us is meant to be like a big cautionary tale too about what happens if one of these heroes, particularly the greatest of them all, Superman, decides to become an executioner, and then the slope that leads them down, and that Batman, like in many ways in the DC universe, is kind of the dark North Star. He understands the dangers. You alluded to, Chris, the story where Batman himself has developed contingency plans in case all the other Justice League members have to be taken down. And a great line in the animation. And what about you, Bruce? What's the plan for you? You are.
Yeah.
That's such a great
Justice
line.
League.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. And so I will be one who will be fascinated to see how James Gunn decides to handle this as they move towards it. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this discussion? I think there's good arguments to be made on both sides. I personally tend to agree with Zack Snyder on this, that in a realistic feeling Batman, the things that Batman does will inevitably lead to somebody getting killed here or there. But maybe that's something they work against. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we got a Mandalorian movie coming, and I'm not going to lie, I'm actually pretty excited about it. As long as they don't just desperately, and you've heard me say this, and pathetically just try to use the Mandalorian movie as nothing but a gimmick to try to promote Disney Plus. And say, like, end the movie on a massive cliffhanger and say, well, guys, if you want to see what happens at the end of this movie, you better go subscribe to Disney Plus. Stay tuned for season 4 of The Mandalorian. That's always been my one fear of it. Otherwise, I think it's a really good move to make the Mandalorian movie because one of the very, very few things that Star Wars fans have agreed on in the past 30 years is that Mandalorian's pretty good. Season 3 wasn't great, admittedly, but for the most part, most Star Wars fans seem to agree together that, yeah, especially the first couple seasons, Mandalorian's pretty good. And so if Lucasfilm is going to try to embark on an era of like kind of bridging the gap, if you will, to bring people together, Mandalorian's not a bad thing to kick off with. But there's also been a lot of talk about them also still trying to do Mandalorian season 4, which makes me wonder why they're doing a movie 2 anyway. There's some questions now about whether season 4 is happening because the actor who's actually physically playing the Mandalorian is saying there's no plans for it. This comes to us from the folks over at CBR who wrote the following. Speaking on the Chatooine show on YouTube, Wayne, who plays the physical version of Din Djarin, as Pedro Pascal provides the voice, was asked if he had heard anything regarding a season 4 of the hit series In a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Wayne casts doubt on the development of another season, saying no to season 4. I know that we're doing a movie for sure. That's what I know. Now, this is interesting because we had kind of heard definitively that there was going to be a movie and there's going to be a season 4. But now we got the guy who actually plays the Mandalorian saying, I know nothing about a season 4. I just know we're making a movie. Now, he said a couple of interesting things about the movie, too. Number one, he said, I think we start shooting in June, which is like sooner than I think a lot of people anticipate. So they're going to be shooting this thing fairly quickly. The second thing he said was a lot of people were very worried about when they do a Mandalorian that it wouldn't even be about Mandalorian. You know, maybe it'll be about Katie Sackhoff's character, or maybe it'd be about this or that or the other thing. But one of the things that Wayne says in this interview is that, oh, it's going to be very, very Mando and Grogu centric. It's going to be very, very Mando and Grogu centric. So I'm sure that's going to be relieving for a lot of people to hear. But Chris, you know, he's saying here, listen, I have no idea about plans for season 4. I just know we're making a movie. Do you think they're going to actually go on and do a season 4 once making the jump to the big screen? Does he just become a big screen character after that? What do you think is going to happen here?
I feel like the proof is in the pudding here of that movie. We got to see how this does. Maybe they'll go back to doing the series, but if this turns out to be a fantastic thing to have on the big screen, we could see Mando just showing up in things like Boba Fett kind of shows, right? Seeing him in Ahsoka or something like that, just showing up little bits here and there. I don't think that there's anything really. I just don't feel like it's a huge deal. Like people are like, they haven't said anything about it the next season. Yeah, because they're doing a movie. They're going to focus on the movie. And Disney themselves have said, we are trying to make sure that we are focusing on quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So I think we have to let them do that. And they're really trying to have that focus right now of, hey, we're doing things one at a time. We're limiting our shows. We're limiting our theatrical releases across the board through Marvel, Star Wars, Disney, etc. And we're making sure that what we're putting out is Disney caliber stuff, the kind of things that you all want to see. Because the Star Wars universe has been quite divisive. The Marvel universe has left people not as thrilled as they used to be with it. They really got to up their game. And so I think they are going to really focus on making this a fabulous movie, and then they'll decide where Mando's going to end up.
See, and I think you're right. And the way I think it's going to go from there is when we look at Bob Iger, I think if Mando ends up being a big success, Iger's a more theatrical centric kind of guy. And I think that if Mandalorian, the movie, is a big success, I think he's probably just going to want to say, okay, we'll do another Mandalorian movie in 3 years, as opposed to going back to the television show. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It might be much ado about nothing, but the question is for you guys. What do you think's going to happen here? I mean, yeah, they're not talking about season 4 right now. Well, maybe that's just, as Chris was saying, because they're focused on the movie. Or maybe the movies become where he lives. Or maybe the movie doesn't even do well and they just kind of move on from the Mandalorian character. What do you guys think is going to happen here? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comments section below and leave them there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we were talking a little bit earlier about, of course, James Gunn has a brand new DCU coming. It's going to be kicked off with Superman, formerly known as Superman Legacy. We're going to have a new Batman coming, all this new Wonder Woman, new Aquaman. Everything's on the way. Well, one of the big things that some people have talked about is that they want Grant Gustin to come back as Flash. It reminds me a lot of when they were going to be making Superman Returns. And a lot of people said, Tom Welling needs to be Superman. Because he was, of course, the CW Superman. Which I never liked the idea. I loved Smallville, by the way. For the record, I love Smallville. But what I tried to say to my fellow film fans at the time was, this isn't Smallville the movie. This is Superman. It's not Smallville. They're not doing Smallville the movie. They're doing Superman. Tom Welling is fabulous in Smallville, and Smallville is great for what it is, but it's not the true comic book Superman. I mean, it's not a theatrical kind of thing. I have the same feelings of Grant Gustin. I love Grant Gustin in The Flash. When you look at the CW Flash, it's hard to imagine anybody doing it as well as Grant Gustin did. He was wonderful. But it was still a CW Flash, right? It wasn't a theatrical Flash. It was a CW, very CW-ismed version of Flash. And quite frankly, in the last 3 or 4 seasons, not a lot of people watched it. That's an inconvenient truth a lot of people often skip over. That by the time they got into the last few seasons, not many people were watching it.
I think Movie Talk had large. I think we ran the numbers once, and Movie Talk had larger daily numbers than,
yeah, which was kind of weird. And it's just that doesn't quite equate out. So no, Grant Gustin should not be the Flash again. But Grant Gustin is great. Anyway, somebody wrote to James Gunn on Threads, and he's very active on there, and basically saying, please tell me you'll cast James Gunn because he's being wasted not being in a DC thing. To which James Gunn said this. This comes from the folks at CBR. Said this. Responding to a fan on Threads who believed that Gustin's talent was being wasted by not being in the DC universe, Gunn wrote, Grant is an incredibly talented guy, performing now on Broadway, I believe. Of course, who's the guy who played Oliver in CW again? Why am I freezing?
Stephen Amell.
Stephen Amell. I don't know why I just froze Stephen's name. But Stephen Amell.
I went to Oliver Twist for some goddamn reason.
Oliver
I was
Twist.
like, what? No one.
Amell just posted a picture of him going down to see Gustin's show and being at the one. I don't think it was a one-man show. But anyway.
It's Water for Elephants on Broadway.
Oh, it's really? That's what it is? Mm-hmm. I had no idea.
My friend
that's what it
Stan
was.
Brown is in it.
Oh, that's so cool. Anyway, Grant is an incredibly talented guy performing now on Broadway, I believe, and is absolutely not going to waste just because he's not currently in a DC project, James Gunn said. But of course, said Gunn, this is what got people excited. I'd love to work with him at some point.
Oh, he's the new Flash then. It's confirmed.
All right, but this is titillating. This is kind of interesting. I mean, this is something that a lot of fans of the CW Flash love hearing this, right? So I thought it'd be fun. Let's take a minute and dream a little bit. Let's say James Gunn decides, yeah, I do want to work with Grant Gustin. Going to bring him in the DCU. Who could he play? Just for fun. Just for funsies.
The Flash.
The Flush.
No, the Flash. I know. Yeah, I listen. I will 100% guarantee you.
Reverse Flash.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I kind of love that idea. Oh my God, I love that idea.
You made the same face that Husky meme does. That was fabulous.
Grant Gustin coming into a DCU as an Eobard Thawne, as a reverse Flash. Oh, there's something so delicious about that. Okay, let me regather my faculties here now that Chris broke my mind. As I say, the one thing I will know for sure is it won't be Flash. Like, he clearly will not be Flash. So get that fantasy out of your head right now. It's not going to be. But I think when you look at Gustin, I think there are a number of guys he could play. One of the guys that comes to mind for me, and it's a name we've thrown around a little bit, because I think he's got it in him to portray this kind of character. Because I would love to see him in James Gunn's universe. Plastic Man.
How dare you?
Nice.
You don't like that?
That role belongs to Ben Schwartz.
Okay, Ben Schwartz would be. Okay,
Gail Simone writes it for him. She writes with his voice in mind.
No, really?
Yeah, because she's messaged him about it. He's like, shut up, because that's all I want to play.
But doesn't he even look like Grant Gustin a little bit? Aside from the elastic cheeks?
Kind of looks like
Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz.
Yeah. That's my guy.
I you know what? I would not be mad. I would not be mad at Ben Schwartz as a Plastic Man. I think Grant Gustin could do it pretty well.
He could. He's a great actor.
By the way, did you ever see Jason Schwartz in that, what's it called? House of Lies?
Ben Schwartz in House of Lies?
Yeah. What did I say?
Jason
Schwartz.
Did I say Jason Schwartz?
Jason Schwartz.
Yeah, no, definitely not Jason. Ben Schwartz. John Ralphio.
Oh, he was fabulous on that.
Oh, he was so good in that.
He is pretty much, anytime Ben Schwartz is in something, he's the best thing in that thing.
Yeah, he's delightful. He really
He's wonderful.
is. But okay, so let me throw it over to you. If not Plastic Man, what's a name or two you could see a Grant Gustin doing in the DC universe?
You know, I do like the idea of him being a villain, honestly, because he is a very squeaky clean looking fella. But way back in the day on Glee for a little while, he played a real douchebag on that. So we could mess around with that kind of stuff. He would be a great Plastic Man. If you wanted to, you could probably have him do something really weird and obscure like The Question. I know his face is covered pretty much always. But
that would be interesting.
I think it'd be interesting to have a young, plucky Question as opposed to, you know, who looks that way.
But do general audiences then think, oh, it's the Riddler?
They shouldn't, because it's only that one little mask instead of a whole green suit.
Yeah, the characters
They're
would be done
smart.
very differently.
They're smart, Jonathan. They'll figure it out.
I saw somebody in the live chat say, Damian Wayne, Grant Gustin is going on 35 years old. I don't think he's going to be, I don't think 35-year-old Grant Gustin is going to be Damian Wayne.
He'd be a really great other Lantern, too, because we've got...
He would make a great Lantern.
Like, Kyle right now is, he'd be good in Batman Beyond.
How old is Pukey McFisty?
Terry McGinnis?
Pukey McFisty.
What's...
That sounds like a deep, strange fantasy.
I am
of
so
someone.
concerned about your algorithm. What is coming up on Pornhub for you people these days? Goodness gracious.
What comes first, the pukey or the fisty?
How old is Terry McGinnis?
How
old is Terry McGinnis supposed to be?
So I can't find it out, but someone said Nightwing. I could see him as a...
He'd be a great Nightwing.
As a more mature Richard Grayson?
Yeah.
I could see him as Nightwing. But again, how old is Terry McGinnis supposed to be?
So Terry McGinnis is in high school. So we're a little past that.
Yeah,
now.
might be a little bit past that. A Nightwing,
I could deal with.
I'd be down for a Nightwing for him. Like a seasoned veteran Richard Grayson.
Which Lantern is Nathan Fillion? Is he Guy?
Which one? Sorry, who?
Nathan Fillion is which Lantern?
He's Guy Gardner.
He's
I
Guy
believe.
Gardner?
Yeah.
Be fun to have him be Kyle.
Kyle Rayner? A Kyle Rayner Green Lantern?
Because then you also get him Breaking Bad then, which I think would be really fun.
That's...
If they go that route.
Yeah, I could see that. Anyway, the listener Endless. Guys, question is for you. Who could you see Grant Gustin playing? I mean, it's not going to be Flash, but a Plastic Man, a Green Lantern, a Pukey McFisty, whoever you want, whatever. The sky's the limit, guys. Don't hold yourself back. Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's jump into some magnificent news, shall we? I loved Ben Affleck, J.K. Simmons, John Bernthal's The Accountant. I love that movie. I thought it was terrific. It was such a different kind of movie with such a different kind of protagonist. And just like they just did things in that. It's in this shell of just a stereotypical classic kind of baddest man walking around taking people out kind of movie, but filled with the guts of some very, very unique stuff. Anna Kendrick was really great in it too. I adore Anna Kendrick. Can I just say it?
She's wonderful.
I just want to say that every time. I adore Anna Kendrick. Quick Anna Kendrick story. She was doing The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and they did
behind the scenes.
During one of the breaks, they just asked the audience some questions. And a lady in the audience says, Anna, so you're on my boyfriend's hall pass list. And Anna Kendrick handles it like a pro. She goes, really? She's like, hello. And then she goes, and then she turns to the girl, am I on your list? And then anyway, she's hilarious. She's so quick. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all that being said, I have wanted a long time for them to make another account. It ends perfectly. It could be a perfect sort of franchise. The one little tiny problem was I think the thing made like $150 million. Mm-hmm. This is a tiny little problem of it not making any money, which is too bad because I don't know what people's problem with. This movie was really good. It was really enjoyable. I had a real blast with it. Well, then for years and years, they were saying, you know what? It did real good on home video, and maybe they'll do it, and maybe they'll do it. And for year after year after year, maybe they'll do it. And then a little while ago, we heard some definitive movement that actually there are some people saying the studios ordered it to go into development. Well, now, according to Deadline, it's locked. And almost everybody, except Anna Kendrick, seems to be returning when Deadline writes this. Exclusive, Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, J.K. Simmons, and Cynthia Addai-Robinson have locked deals to return for The Accountant 2, the sequel to Gavin O'Connor-directed action thriller The Accountant, on which Amazon MGM Studios has teamed with Affleck and Matt Damon's Artists Equity. Also set to return is the original director, Gavin O'Connor, who directs from a script penned by the original film screenwriter, Ben Dubik. Now, it goes on to talk about how grossing $155 million worldwide in its 2016 release before going on to become the most rented digital film of the subsequent year. So, I mean, look, that doesn't replace not doing well theatrically, but it, buoys it up a bit.
It was only a $44 million budget. So if they can keep that low.
Okay.
Yep. They did it on the cheap. I'm sure the next one will probably be a little bit more, but I love this because when they're talking about kind of greenlighting the development of it, I thought, I really want, Ben Affleck's the star, but I love the dynamic with his brother, with John Bernthal. I really hope he comes back. And now they're saying that JK's back, John Bernthal's back. I am so excited for this. I do wonder, though, with all of the controversy going on with Roadhouse, if Amazon MGM is going to make this what it should be, which is a theatrical release.
I hope so.
Or if it's going to be a straight to Amazon thing. Well, everybody will forget that it's coming out and nobody will watch it. But anyway, I'm not going to let that worry take away my pure joy right now. I am so stoked. For years, I've been wanting to say Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, J.K., they're all coming back for an Accountant 2. I'm very excited about this. Chris, first of all, I've never even asked, did you ever even see the original Accountant?
I did. I'm not as big of a fan of it as you are.
Oh, I love it so much.
I think I watched it and went, oh, this is a good movie. And then I went about my day. And so
And then I went about my day. That should be the name of your autobiography.
And then I went about my day. Pretty much everything. Just, it's fine. I don't really have hard opinions, I feel. It's not the greatest forum for me. The internet gets mad when I'm not angry about something or in love with something. But it was a well-made movie, and I really like this cast. The cast is fantastic, and having them all come back is wonderful. This guy in particular, I love John Bernthal. I think he is wonderful. He has this amazing ability For me, the anti-Jared Leto, where he shows up for 15 minutes in something and I go, no, more of him. I want more of this guy. So I love him. I want him to be in everything. And he's just a wonderful, dynamic actor. If you haven't watched his Hot Ones, oh my gosh, it's one of the best interviews that Sean's done. It's so, so good and so fun. And he is a very, very incredible actor who has some amazing training and you can learn a lot from it. I'm still just confused about why this is happening so late. You know?
This is we're 8 years on since the first one.
I didn't realize that the people were crying out for the accountant.
That would be me. That would just be me crying about it for 7 years.
I'm glad you got this greenlit, man. This is really exciting for you. But honestly, it all comes down to, is it going to be another excellent film? Are they going to kind of yes-and what they did? And will it have that theatrical release? Because I think with this kind of star power too, just dropping it on streaming.
Such a waste.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm very happy today. I don't care.
The
Accountant 2 Revenge of the Revenge of the IRS. Guys, question is for you. Are you as excited as I am for the Accountant 2, or are you like Chris, where you just went on with your day? Whatever you think about this, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, that down. Let's move on to this, shall we? There has never been a television show I've been more excited about than Shogun. Now, I said that about when they announced that they were making a Lord of the Rings TV show, but that was before they announced that they were making a Shogun show. I've been waiting literally my whole life for somebody else to come along and do Shogun again. They did the miniseries back in the 80s with Richard Chamberlain and John Rhys Davies. And that was great. My mom always had the book around, but I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this. It came out. Listen, guys, it has been every bit as glorious as I was hoping it would be. And episode 3, Tomorrow is Tomorrow, by the way, which ended with this great line: tomorrow is tomorrow. Today I learned how to dive. Such a great line. I just love it. And Hiroyuki Sanada as Lord Toranaga is just like pure, utter perfection. Look at this. First of all, this image. You could build a life philosophy just around this one picture. I love this so much. Well, apparently, like, I thought I was going to be the only one to watch this show when it would come out, because ain't nobody ever talked about it. When they announced they're doing Shogun, like, I'm freaking out, but I didn't hear a lot of other people freaking out. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just watch it. But apparently a lot of people have been watching it, because according to these reports, Shogun has shattered the Hulu record for the biggest debut of thing, beating the debut of The Bear Season 2, which, by the way, again, if you're not watching The Bear, reevaluate your life choices. Watch The Bear. It's so good. With Effects, and of course, Effects is the same company that did Sons of Anarchy, which, of course, is one of my all-time favorite television shows. So they say it launched to like 9.2 million views in the first couple of days, which beat out The Bear Season 2. And what that told me was, while that is not the biggest show of all time by any stretch of the imagination, that people are watching it, which is so good. Because, guys, listen, they're only 3 episodes in. If you're not watching Shogun, go watch Shogun. The performance, Cosmo is fabulous in it. Of course, Sanada is fabulous in it. The girl from Monarch, I keep forgetting her name.
Anna Sawa?
Is that it? Oh, man, she's so good.
She's incredible.
Yeah, she's so good in that. Like, everything about this show from top to bottom is just glorious. I love this show so much, and I'm glad to see so many people watching it. Anyway, Chris, have you and Logan had a chance to get on board and start watching Shogun yet?
We've watched the first episode. It's been a big TV week because Gentleman dropped completely.
That's right. Yeah, the whole season dropped.
I wanted to make sure I watched a bunch of that. This dropped, and then you guys know I gotta watch that trash for y'all. Love is Blind. Oh my gosh, I gotta caught up.
For who exactly are you watching Love is Blind?
Listen, mostly for Rob.
Mostly for Rob.
Me and Rob love this show so much. It's so bad. Man, the Houston seasons I thought were going to be the worst ever. And then Nashville was like, hold my beer. It's terrible. They're all terrible. Spoilers for Love is Blind. Only the good people got married, which is really exciting because usually, you watch and go, this is going to go down like a lead balloon. So lots of TV. But this first episode that I watched was so wonderful, so powerful. I can't wait to watch more of it. I'm so excited about it. I actually FaceTimed my dad about it because he was like, are you watching the Shogun show? It's so good. They do such a masterful job. It's so expensive looking. Let's talk about that too.
It looks so bloody expensive.
It's beautiful. he is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I had only seen him in this Jane Austen period piece, I think, before this.
Did he still have a voice like this?
No, very lighter, softer.
Really?
Yeah.
It's quite a voice.
Took me back where I was like, oh, that's how he sounds? Fabulous cast.
He was like, this is why they call it Shogun.
Just like that. I think it's a wonderful series that I cannot wait to watch more of. I did pause reading the book because, man, is that a dense thing. And I want to go through this first and then go to the novel and see how they compare and contrast.
And they do make some changes from the book to the series, but any good adaptation will do that. Like, I seriously have caught myself kind of in a bad version of Cosmo's voice. I'll just be sitting around the house and out of nowhere I'll just go, "Hi, Toranaga-sama." I don't know why. I just think that's the coolest sounding thing in the world. Now I want to learn Japanese. Never wanted to learn Japanese before. Now I do. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Have you been watching Shogun? Apparently a lot more of you have than I thought they would. Keep watching. Comes out on Tuesdays. There's only 3 episodes in. Go get caught up now before the next episode and live your best life, my friends. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? As I alluded to at the beginning of the episode, it is Oscar weekend. It's here. My second favorite day of the year other than Christmas Day. It's here where the industry celebrates the top excellence in the art of filmmaking for the year. So I thought we would be remiss if we didn't take a second here and give our final last-minute predictions. We're not going to cover all 23 categories, but we'll cover the major ones here. And going to say which ones I think could end up being the ones that shock the world. So let's start with this. In Best Picture, of course, you got American Fiction, Anatomy of Fall, Barbie, Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, Zone of Interest. Look, there's not going to be a surprise. There's not going to be anything else. Oppenheimer is going to win Best Picture. There is nothing else that has even put up a monochrome of resistance during the award season. There's really nothing else here. I mean, should Poor Things, crossing Past Lives and Poor Things.
Ooh.
Should Poor Things be giving it a run for its money? Yes, but I mean, it's just should Killers of the Flower Moon be giving it a little bit more for its running for its money? Maybe, but I mean, it's just so clear. Oppenheimer's going to win this. Nothing else. It's not going to be any tension at the end. Chris, do you think anything else could beat Oppenheimer, or is this one a
think
lock?
that's the one. I really, really do. Although in the past we've seen things, right? Like La La Land, we thought that was going to win, and then it went to Moonlight. So something like Past Lives could kind of sneak up on you, or Holdovers even, or something like that. But I do think Oppenheimer is the one that most folks are going to go with.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to pick a surprise because there is not going to be a surprise here. I mean, that's just it.
All
right.
Quality films, though. All so amazing.
So
this
many
year.
good
it's
films.
A
I mean,
year.
look, when you look at like Zone of Interest, Poor Things is so fantastic. Holdovers is great. Anatomy of a Fall is great.
American Fiction, so good. I finally got to see that. So good.
So good. I'm a little surprised Past Lives didn't get nominated, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's a topic for another time. We move on to Best Actor. Bradley Cooper, Maestro, Coleman Domingo and Rustin, Paul Giamatti, Cillian Murphy, Jeffrey Wright. It was looking like a 2-horse race between Paul Giamatti and Cillian Murphy. Both of them have been collecting a lot of trophies. It was kind of close, but then SAG happened. The Screen Actors Guild, where the actors honored their own, and it went to Cillian Murphy, and I think that kind of ended it. So is there still a chance Paul Giamatti gets his name called? Yes. But I would put my $5 on Cillian Murphy winning that. It's just, that's where the momentum seems to be. By the way, if they really want to shock the world, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction, who is so freaking good in this movie. But I mean, just some of the performances this year, especially in this category. Listen, I wasn't a huge fan of Maestro. Bradley Cooper is inspired in it. I mean, Bradley Cooper is fabulous in that movie, even though I didn't love it. Paul Giamatti, yeah, but it's going to be Cillian Murphy. What do you think?
I think it's going to go to Cillian as well. But God, do I love Paul Giamatti, and he is amazing in this film.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's
100%.
So great. I mean, I'm still upset about him not getting an Oscar for Cinderella Man. If I'm being completely honest.
In that.
Yep, that was the year of, I believe, Syriana, and so I think George Clooney won that year. If I'm getting my dates correct, but Cillian Murphy, he's on that screen almost every moment of Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer. I'm doing great today, you guys.
I think it was fist and vomit.
I'm still just got that in the back of my mind, like, Jesus Christ. He's on the screen almost every frame of Oppenheimer. There we go. Use the second take. We're not live, right? It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, let's move on.
That's great.
To Best Actress. This is the one category that I honestly think is a coin toss. There's no other category that's a coin toss. This one is it. It's not going to be Annette Bening. It's not going to be Sandra Hüller. It's not going to be Carey Mulligan. It's going to be Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone. And going into SAG, it looked like all the momentum had gone to Emma Stone.
Yeah.
It was a close race for a long time, but it looked like Emma Stone was definitively pulling the lead. And again, then came SAG. And they give it to Lily Gladstone. And now it's like, well, now I don't know. So I'm not going to put a push. I am going to make a pick. I am still going to pick Emma Stone. I still think Emma Stone will be the one to get it, but I would put $0 on this because it's almost a coin toss. Yeah. It's almost a coin toss at this point. So, but if I have to pick one, I'm going to say it's going to be Emma Stone. Although I ain't going to be mad at all if it's Lily Gladstone. Yeah. It's not going to be any of the other three. No. So, Chris, who wins this category?
Kurt Affair in the chat said, someone with a stone in their name will win.
That's the one guaranteed.
That's wonderful. So, I think you're probably correct in that it probably will go to Emma Stone. It's a absolutely bananas performance.
Yeah.
What she does in Poor Things is wild. Lily Gladstone gives us something that is so heartbreaking and raw and visceral, though. And I do think that we typically gravitate towards those kind of performances when it comes to Best Actor, Best Actress. So, I mean, it's really neck and neck here. I won't be upset about either of those choices, but probably Emma's going to get it.
All right, we move on now to Best Supporting Actor. Sterling K. Brown, Sterling K. Brown, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Gosling, Mark Ruffalo. Look, across all of the award season, this has been a clean sweep for Robert Downey Jr. He's been winning he's going to win. But this is the first category where I'm going to call a surprise. Now, again, if I had to put my $15 down, I'm putting it on Robert Downey Jr. He's going to have his name. But this is one of the categories that could shake the world. Because I am not going to fall out of my chair with shock if they open up the envelope and read Ryan Gosling. This is my surprise watch.
They could.
You know, what do they call on the sports network when a higher ranked team is losing? Upset alert? Yeah, this is my upset alert. Oh. This is my upset alert.
But in a comedy role, I mean, because I know it wasn't straight comedy, but his role more so than others was comedic.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I feel like Sterling could take it.
I mean, look, listen, Sterling was fantastic in it. Absolutely. As was Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things.
And such a different role for him.
Yeah, it's a totally different type of guy that we saw. Robert De Niro is Robert De Niro in Killer's Flower Moon. But I'm just going to say, like, Robert Downey Jr. is going to win. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. This is my upset alert, is Ryan Gosling getting his name read at the end there. All right. Let's move on here to Best Supporting Actress. Again, this is a given. This one's a gimme. Yep. Emily Blunt, fantastic. Danielle Brooks in Color Purple, awesome. America Ferrera in Barbie, she's wonderful in that. Jodie Foster in Nyad, Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers.
She's winning.
Like Robert Downey Jr., Chris, this is one that's been a sweep.
Yeah.
Pretty much throughout. Is there any doubt that Randolph wins the Academy Award this year?
This is a category that I'm so confident in. I think she's absolutely clinched it. I mean, she is phenomenal in this film. She's great in everything she does, too. I think a lot of people weren't aware of her work. She is wonderful on Only Murders in the Building. She was on the very short-lived version of High Fidelity, the television series.
Oh, I never did watch that.
It was so good. I was so heartbroken when it got canceled. She's amazing on that show. And this role is just so powerful. She has a great job.
All right. We move on now to Best Director. And this is another one that's a big lock. But I am going to give my second upset alert. All right, so Jonathan Glazer, Yorgos Lanthimos, Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese, Justine Triet. Look, this has been a sweep. It's Christopher Nolan. This is Christopher Nolan's year. Christopher Nolan's never won Best Director. This is the year he's going to do it. But I'm going to throw out another one. That's just to say, look, yeah, Christopher's going to win, but just don't fall out of your seat if you hear the name Yorgos.
He directed the heck out of that, man.
Yeah.
He I'm telling you, if Christopher Nolan wasn't in the running this year, this would be like Christopher Nolan has kind of been sweeping everything. I think Yorgos would have swept everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like the direction of this movie, it took a visionary to make this film. This is so wildly 3 degrees off reality for the way our brains work at the same time, and yet made something so compelling. Again, I often talk about the number one job of the director is to bring the best performances out of his actors that he can. Totally. I mean, Christopher Nolan did that with Oppenheimer as well, but Yorgos did that too with Poor Things. So yeah, Christopher Nolan is most likely going to win. That is my pick. Christopher Nolan's going to win. I'm just saying the upset alert on this one is going to be Yorgos. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, Yorgos, a fabulous director. He did an amazing job on this, but it's Nolan's year. Everyone keeps talking about it, and every beat of Oppenheimer is fabulous. It is, to borrow from Scorsese, it's cinema. Every moment of it is. He nails it.
All right. We move on now to Best Animated Feature Film. The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This one is going to be close for a lot of people. I mean, this is a 2-horse race. It's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and it's The Boy and the Heron. I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is going to win its second Academy Award. Of course, I'm not going to be surprised in the least if Boy and the Heron wins either. This is going to be a close one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Chris, which one wins?
I would do the same. I mean, it's odd to bet against Miyazaki, truly.
Yeah.
But Spider-Verse was so groundbreaking. You got to give it to that, I think.
All right. Now we move into the screenplay categories. Best Adapted Screenplay. American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Zone of Interest. I think this is I'm going to go against the popular opinion on this. A lot of people are putting their money on Oppenheimer. I think it's going to be Poor Things. Poor Things, or maybe even a third option in here of American Fiction.
I was
where I
going to go
lean.
that, yeah.
Is that where you're going as well?
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think it will probably end up being Oppenheimer, but I'm going to give my first I'm going to pick, my official pick is actually going to be Poor Things. Chris, you're going to go with American Fiction?
American Fiction. I've read American Prometheus, and they do a stellar job of adapting that. But I feel like it's so its own entity. And American Fiction, I just feel like that one just fires for me a bit more.
It's so good. Jonathan, that's the one you would go for too?
Yeah, I think so too. Although, I mean, I don't think Poor Things is going to get probably not going to get Best Director, and that might be that gimme kind of. The Oscars sometimes does that. Like, we're going to give you the consolation, even though this isn't a consolation. It's,
for sure, yeah.
It's a big award to win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know how the
sometimes
Oscars
happens,
think.
so.
You know what I mean? The voting. So could be, but I'm going American Fiction as the dark horse on that.
All right. And once again, somebody at the Oscars got confused and they inexplicably put Barbie in the Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yeah, that's why I didn't
thing.
choose that, because that's original. So.
It should be original. It should be original, and it should be
That's why
sweeping.
the WGA said it's an original screenplay, but
Yeah.
whatever, somebody over at the Oscars are stupid. But we move on to the next category of original screenplay. Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May, December, Past Lives, all incredible, except maybe I wouldn't have put May, December on this personally, but whatever. I think Anatomy of a Fall wins the Academy Award this year for Best Original Screenplay. Listen, Past Lives script is crazy good. Holdovers is crazy good, but I'm going to go for Anatomy of a Fall. Chris?
I think I'm going to go with Past Lives.
I would not be mad if
It's
Past Lives won.
stunning. That's beautifully written.
All right. We move now into visual effects. The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. I think Creator's going to take this one. It truly had it had kind of a double whammy going in its favor. It has the most breathtaking blockbuster visual effects while being made for an incredibly small budget. Now, a lot of people, voting with their hearts are saying they want Godzilla -1 to work, because what they did with the visual effects in Godzilla -1 for, what did we say it was, a $15 million budget? For a $15 million budget is insanely great. But the Academy Award is not Best Visual Effects for a small budget. And quite frankly, as much as you've heard me review Godzilla -1, I love Godzilla -1. But Ray, you're watching with me. There are times in that movie where I was like, you could totally see that this was a $15 million budget in this scene. And then other scenes that looked insanely good. including the best nuclear blast we've ever seen in a Godzilla movie.
They're like throughout the creator, every site that, well, at least from what I was seeing, was like spectacular.
Oh yeah, every frame.
Even the where they went to different places, that the housing units.
Yep.
They changed like dramatically. It was like the designs were so out there. It was like a visual sight. Like sometimes it was hard for me to pay attention to the movie itself.
Yeah, I mean, and then you think about, and this was a super low budget film. I mean, it's every frame. You know what it reminded me of when I was watching it from a visual standpoint? When Neil Blomkamp made District 9. And like we looked at that movie, it's like, they made this movie for how much?
That's a movie you can keep coming back to as well and go, this still looks so damn good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so phenomenal.
Crazy. And that's what the creator, so I think the creator takes us, Chris.
Absolutely. I was devastated more people didn't go see the creator, honestly.
I don't understand why they didn't.
People slept on that movie. It is stunning. It is a great story. I think a lot of people got hung up on the sci-fi tropes of it, and I feel like they did such a wonderful job exploring what programming is, what your actual intention is, what being alive is. Oh, it's gorgeous.
And they went to space.
Yes, they did.
That's very important to me.
Very important. All right, let's move on to cinematography, shall we? We got Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, This is Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer's going to win this.
Yeah.
Nothing else is going to come close to it. Chris, do we need to even discuss this anymore?
This is Oppenheimer.
It's
the Oppenheimer year.
Yeah, it's an Oppenheimer year. We're going to go to, where did it go? Film editing. Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. I'll tell you what, editing is such an important part of the pacing of a film and the natural feel of the flow. And I thought Poor Things was exemplary. But Oppenheimer's going to win this.
Yeah.
I think Oppenheimer takes this. They're going to win a lot of Academy Awards this
With
year.
that with the timeline, with the splicing in of how the actual science looks and manifests and everything too. Yeah, Oppenheimer.
So guys, that's all the categories. We're going to, again, there's like 10, 15 other categories that we're not going to really touch on, but for those are the key ones. It's going to be a big night for Oppenheimer. I don't think they're going to win all of them, but I think it's going to be a very, very big night for Oppenheimer. How do you guys feel about it? Are there any big surprises that you say we should be keeping our eyes open for? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to go on and start taking your questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends over at Factor. We want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Factor. You know, guys, some days it's great to prepare your own meal, but some days it's great to have wonderful, delicious meals already ready to go. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals makes eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. So what are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. They've got snacks, smoothies, and more. Discover a wide variety of easy options for the entire day, like breakfast, midday bites, and more. And guys, you get to save. We've done the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved to be nutritious and delicious. So guys, head to factormeals.com/Campea50 and use the code Campea50 to get 50% off. That's code Campea50 at factormeals.com/Campea50 to get 50% off. And thank you to our friends at Factor for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Chris, what do we got up first?
All right.
Cameron there.
From Cameron, sending in a $20 super chat. Thank you so
Cameron.
much. Sad news from the anime community as Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama has passed away. I know, John, you weren't personally a fan, but his influence on the medium and pop culture can't be understated. Rest in peace, Toriyama.
I think you probably meant to say can't be overstated, but yeah, anyway. Yeah, you listen, I'm not a Dragon Ball Z guy. I don't like Dragon Ball Z, but that's just me. Clearly, this is a property that meant a lot to a bunch of people. And whenever you hear about the creator of something passing away, it's always sad to hear. Chris, you have any thoughts on that?
He was so influential to the anime community.
He was very influential.
Dragon Ball was huge. It's a phenomena that still resonates. People are so intrinsically tied to that series. I personally always watched Zekai because I liked the tighter story, but the other things that they went on to go do were just fascinating and fun. And it's a big loss. He was only, I think, 68.
Ooh.
So-
Yeah, he wasn't. I
so
remember
quite
hearing he
young
wasn't
still.
even 70,
Yeah.
which is too bad to hear. All right, what's next?
From Kevin sending in a $50 super
Oh my
chat.
God! Thank you so much, man. Guys, you guys supporting us so much today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hey guys, I've seen Dune 2 for the third time now, and I'm going to see it again on Sunday. I can now safely say that the War Council scene is my favorite one of all time. And Timothy is just amazing. Long live the fighters.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I think it is my second favorite scene all time, behind the Luke Vader throne room scene. You know, it's so funny. I've mentioned this, but today I was in my home office getting some stuff ready for today's show before coming over here to the studio. And I hear Anne going, "Oh," like from the living room. I'm like, "What is it, honey?" She goes, "Don't you worry about it. Nothing." I'm like, "Okay." And then I stop and I listen a couple minutes later and I hear, "I got 12 silver crownings in my pocket and a hat full of dreams." I'm like, "Is that Wonka?" She goes, "Yeah, it's on stream. It's on Max now."
She didn't tell you.
She goes, "Yeah." It's Wonka's on Max now. So I went out and sat with her for a minute and I just watched like just a couple of minutes of it. I'm like, that's Paul Muad'Dib Atreides. Like this guy in the span of a calendar year, he played this role and then played this role. Timothée Chalamet is so fucking good. He's so good. And Wonka is so delightful. If you haven't seen Wonka yet, and the film was a big hit, made well over $600 million. But if you haven't seen Wonka, go to Max, watch Wonka. It's a total delight. It's a great little film, and enjoy yourself. But again, it was astounding to me watching him doing that again and realize we just saw him, being the Kwisatz Haderach, give the dog a bone. I love.
You are like the worst person.
The Meshach
Why do you even
Haderach?
try? If you don't know the name, why do you even try?
So the Kwisatz Haderach. There you
Because
go.
we get McFisty, we get just things that.
Pukey McFisty. Get the name right.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, Ray.
Say my name.
All right. And again, Kevin, thank
you're
you so much.
Pukey McFisty?
Thank you so much for sponsoring our show on that level, man. It's very generous of you, dude. All right, what's next?
From Dildar, the Glorious.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Akira Toriyama. He made my childhood anime. Wouldn't be what it is today without his influence. My sadness level is over 9,000. I found out in the chat, too, he also was behind Chrono Trigger and a whole bunch of other
was he?
games like that, too. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth. Kung Fu Panda 4 was so fun and entertaining. Really liking Awkwafina as a voice actor, and hearing Jack Black singing Britney and is just awesome.
I have not seen it yet. Obviously, it came out last night, and Ann and I were talking about going to go see it.
I have not seen any of them.
Any of
None
the
of
Kung
the-
Fu Pandas?
Look. I like the Pixar sort of like animated films. There has to be something that pulls to me. Like the Elio's film.
Right.
Is that even still coming out?
Yep.
About space, whatever. I'm gonna go see that. Kung Fu Panda, I don't know. I was like, I don't want to watch a movie about myself.
You start calling you Poe. No, seriously. Listen, Kung Fu Panda, especially the first two. I'm not a huge fan of the third one, I admit, but especially the first two are way better than they have any business being.
Are they?
They were. I was really quite surprised by how good they are. But I didn't end up going to see it because a Canadian hockey team was playing in LA last night. So the LA Kings were playing the Ottawa Senators. So we decided to go down to that game instead. But I'm gonna get around to watching it sometime before Monday. I'll get around to watching it. All right, what's next?
From Calvin, sending in a $50 super chat.
Thank you, Calvin.
That's amazing. John, you and Chris were talking about dubs, and my favorite series currently airing, Young Royals on Netflix, third and final season next week, is a Swedish series, and I love that all the main cast does the English dubs, so I always watch in both languages. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so for the record, Calvin, I've never even heard of this show.
Yeah,
so
same.
that aside. But the idea where you have a foreign language show, but the actual actors do their own English dubs, that's pretty cool.
That's wild. Well done. Man, I should know other languages. I should. Everyone else does this. Everyone else does this. What am I doing? I have like Pokemon facts and Muppet knowledge. Why am I like this? I could be such a more useful member of society like this wonderful Swedish cast.
Knowledge. I would say this though. It brings up the question again about the age-old dub versus
Sub.
Versus what's the
Yes.
what's the actual name of it?
Subtitles?
Subtitles.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
McFisty. McSubby.
McSubby.
Substralian linguistics.
I see the argument for both. I tend to lean towards subtitle as being a preference to dub. Both have their drawbacks, right? Because dubbed, you're constantly like your brain is constantly trying to, reconcile the fact that their lips are not saying the words that are coming out of their mouth. With subtitles, you are sometimes not catching facial gestures and all this kind of stuff. You're missing out a little bit, but human eyes can move fast, but still, so there's a little bit of drawback to both. I lean towards subtitles.
My rule is if I'm awake, it's sub. If I'm about to go to sleep, it's dub.
Oh,
That's a good rule.
Well,
so you just get a little dub and then you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Oh, that was Calvin. I got to move you down. There you go.
From Min, better performance. The dog from Anatomy of a Fall or the donkey from Banshees of Inisherin?
Oh, that poor donkey.
Oh, that poor donkey. Man, okay, that little dog's name is Misi, and that dog deserves an Oscar.
Okay, the answer is the bear from The Revenant. That's the correct answer.
Well,
the
there we
bear
go.
from The Revenant.
I'm glad you got your question answered.
I'd go
The
dog.
poor donkey,
I'd go
though.
dog.
Anyway, all right.
Wait.
What's next?
From Aiden Foley, favorite Sopranos character that's not Tony.
I mean, I like walnuts. Why can't I think of his?
Paulie?
Paulie, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like Paulie.
I like Silvio, Christopher. Yeah, I'd say those are my favorites.
I would like to watch it one day.
You should.
I had to double check her name because I was just going to say the therapist. I really like Dr. Jennifer.
Yeah, she was. I mean, she was great for when she was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
From James Tremaine, R.I.P. Akira Toriyama. Thank you for my childhood.
Yeah, a number of people writing in about that today.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
From Brendan Gleeson Al Gibb. John, I know you don't give a fuck about 3D, but Kung Fu Panda 4 was insane. Gorgeous, crisp visuals made the movie a gorgeous visual novel and filled me with joy throughout. Cannot recommend it enough.
Doesn't have to be 3D to be all those things you just described.
Yeah.
I will definitely not be watching it in 3D.
I'm definitely going to see it in 4DX.
Oh, well, yeah.
Really?
Kung Fu Panda?
Because Logan.
Oh, yeah.
Because Logan will be like, you want to go see it in the movie chairs?
In the movie chairs.
You want to do the Kung Fu Panda ride at the movies?
Do you know I still to this day have never been in a 4DX theater?
You don't need to.
Yeah, that's what I keep getting told too.
The only fun one was Sonic. Sonic was great.
And there's rarely a time where you could just sit there and eat your popcorn without spilling
It's a
it all over the
nightmare.
place. So
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Gray Fox, just sending in some support.
Oh, thank you, Gray Fox.
From Raymond, how many times have you seen Kevin Smith shed tears online about the Flash that he eventually directed? Some episodes. Grant Gustin is the Flash. I feel like I'm missing a word here.
Yeah, that doesn't grammatically make sense.
Sorry, Raymond.
Anyway, saw Kevin Smith cry a lot about it.
Yeah.
Grant Gustin is not the Flash. Grant Gustin is a CW Flash, but CW Flash is not Flash any more than. Listen, I love Stephen Amell's Green Arrow, but the CW Green Arrow is not Green Arrow. I love Tom Welling's Clark on Smallville, but Smallville is not Superman. Like the CW stuff can be great for what it is, but it is this thing. It is not that thing. So no, I don't. Grant Gustin is not the Flash, not a movie Flash. I should say he's a wonderful CW Flash. He's awesome in that, but not movie Flash. That's just my kind of take on it. Anyway, what's next?
From Raymond again.
Gustin is McFisty. Somebody just said in the live chat.
Raymond again writes, Happy International Women's Day from Deadpool. It is International Women's Day.
Yes, it is. And getting ready to walk out the door, I go into Anne's office, give her a kiss goodbye, as I always do. She goes, it's Women's Day. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. She goes, so, you can go and get me a present.
Man, you get bullied at home, do you?
I do.
Man, she didn't even tell you it was Wonka and starts watching it without you.
Yeah, what's going on, honey? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's what a little goon.
So he goes, so you can get me a present. I'm like, thank you. I said to her, is that something that happens on Women's Day? You get women presents? Anyway, apparently I got to stop on the way home and pick up a present. All right, what's next?
From Calvin again, sending in a $20 super chat. Calvin,
thank you, Calvin.
So generous today. John, I've watched Perfect Days, and I 100% understand why this artsy movie was chosen for Japan's International Oscar film. But I honestly believe -1 was better. Also, German director for Perfect Days, so kind of strange.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like Japanese production.
Yeah, you can have a Peruvian director of an American film. It's still an American film. The director is a very important part, but the director is just one part of the film. What really determines about what nationality a film is where did the money come from?
Yeah.
That's really the thing. So, I listen, I haven't seen that film in particular, but Japan felt that was their better film, so they submitted that, and it is. But yeah, -1's a great film, though. I think it is my favorite Godzilla film. I think -1 is my all-time favorite Godzilla film.
It's amazing.
All right, what's next?
From Matan, sending in a $30 super chat.
Thank you.
With video game adaptation getting more successful, how long before Disney gets on the trend and does a Kingdom Hearts movie or series, or, God forbid, buy a company? If Disney is still in shape to buy a company.
I'll tell you what, I don't know anybody that's interested in a Kingdom Hearts movie. I like a lot of other titles you can throw at me and go, yeah, I know a lot of people would be interested in that, and a lot of I don't know that a Kingdom Hearts movie is anything anybody would care about.
I don't know how you would execute it in a way that feels satisfying.
Right.
Because the gameplay, the whole point is how you were simultaneously immersed in the worlds of Disney, but also in a way Final Fantasy because of the Square Enix of it all.
Right.
So
if
I don't
anything,
know how
it would be a series, probably.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could see it landing, because a movie would kind of be a little confusing, a little too much money.
Yeah. Well, and a movie can end up either being very Roger Rabbit-y,
You're right.
which I don't know if that's
Yeah.
what you'd want, or you go animated so you can have all those different animation styles, but I don't know.
What do you think about Disney? His other part of it is Disney actually buying a video game company and starting something like that. I think they have a lot more to worry about right now than making video
Disney
games.
licenses a lot of their stuff. And yeah, Disney right now isn't in an expansion mode.
Right.
So I don't really see that happening. At least not in the near future. Anything can happen later on, though. All right, what's next?
From Matan. With, oh wait, no, I just did that one. From Kilver. From what?
Oh, it's a $20 super chat. Thank you, Kilver, for supporting us on that level, man.
Watching Dune Part 2 and Oppenheimer both in IMAX.
Nice.
I believe cinema will never die. I cannot wait for more massive scale, visual spectacle films in premium formats as technology gets better. Long live cinema.
Listen, there are movies where, like Dune, say, comes along and says you have to watch it on the biggest screen possible. You know, you're going into your IMAXs, your Dolby Primes. But I would say even movies like The King's Speech is just something that is better experienced in a theater with other people and stuff like that. Even like dialogue-driven human story kind of movies, I just think are better experienced that way. There's a reason why directors often say, this is how I made my movie to be seen. Like, how many times have you heard a director say that? All the time, right? But there's reason for it, because they're right. They're 100% right. And it just gets really, it gets accentuated even more when it's a film like an Oppenheimer or a film like a Dune or something like that, that really takes advantage of that format and just leaves us like gasping. And I know a lot of people like me too. Like, one of the big examples of something like an Oppenheimer and more recently a Dune is like, I come out of Dune and like, I am invigorated and excited to go see my next movie. You know, I'm always excited about going to the movies. Every day I wake up that I'm going to a movie that day is like a good day for me. Like, I'm excited all day because I know I'm going to the movie theaters tonight. I love that. But when you watch a movie like Dune or something akin to that, you come in and you're like, when's the next movie? When's the next? Like, I can't wait to go back in there. And I'm glad that this movie seemed to have, or these movies, I should say, seem to have had that impact on you as well.
Godzilla X Kong on the biggest screen possible. Go see it.
It's in like 2 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, March 29th.
Yeah, it's at the end of this month.
Yep.
I'm actually kind of getting a little bit hyped to go see that movie. All right.
We'll see.
What's next?
From
see.
Oh, we're now over to our channel members. Okay.
Then we'll see if it's any good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
From Joe Howland. Hey, was wondering if you had any new information on when we could see a new trailer or first look at the new Alien Romulus.
Nothing, but it can't be too far away. It can't be too far away. But honestly, I have heard zero about it. So I don't know if they're going to give us some big revelation at CinemaCon or because that's coming up next month. But honestly, at this point, nothing, but we will keep our ears open.
It's a movie, right?
Yes.
Or is it a series?
It's a movie,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
From Shay Mister. Have you seen the show Extraordinary on Hulu? They
Never
just
heard of
dropped
it.
season 2. It's about a world where everyone gets a superpower at 18, but one girl didn't. It's kind of bonkers and raunchy. I've heard about it, but I haven't watched it.
It kind of sounds like, what was the name of the movie? Encanto. It sounds kind of like Encanto.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the premise sounds a little bit like Encanto. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I've never even heard of it at this point. So, but I'm going to keep my eye open for it. I'm going to go check it out. Thanks for putting it on our radar. All right, what's next?
From Zack. What are your thoughts on Thomas Hayden Church saying that he thinks Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire will make Spider-Man 4 and he would like to also be involved in that movie as Sandman?
Stop the presses.
Yeah.
Actor says, I would love to be in a big blockbuster movie.
We never do that.
I really don't think it's ever going to happen. Would I like it to happen? I'd be down. I'll totally be there for it, but I don't think it's actually ever going to happen.
Defeats the purpose of what happened to Sandman in the last movie, though. They fixed him. So.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Thomas Hayden Church can be in anything
I
he
was
wants
gonna
because
say-
I love Thomas
But I
Hayden
mean,
Church.
I love Thomas Hayden Church as well, but even beyond that, I mean, him in Sideways, or Lowell in Wings.
He was so good.
He was so
I
good in
love
that.
show.
Because not only him, but freaking Monk, Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub
was in that
Steven
as well as
Weber.
the cab driver, right? And so many people came out of Wings. It was so good. Anyway, and not even the Thomas Hayden Church part. I don't think we're going to see that Spider-Man 4. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it would be great if it does, and anything can happen in Hollywood. But my guess is it probably won't happen. All right, what's next?
Lori.
From Lore. Hi, film-loving friends. So since the debacle of Roadhouse, do you think that there is a chance for my other Swayze guilty pleasure, Next of Kin, to get a reboot or reimagining?
Which
Is it
one
Lori?
is
Is it Lori
Yeah.
Howard? Oh, I'm sorry, Lori. I've been saying that wrong my whole life.
Which one is that? I'm not familiar with.
I'm not
Next
familiar
of
with Next
Kin.
of Kin.
I mean,
Gonna see
I'm
what
down
this is.
for like revitalizing. Hell, do another Dirty Dancing.
Okay, so it's a Western from 1989 with Patrick Swayze, Liam Neeson, Adam Baldwin, Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, and Ben Stiller in one of his earliest roles.
Wow.
I have never heard of this film.
I can't wait to go watch this, though.
I
Ooh,
definitely want to watch a trailer
Did
for
it
it
get
now.
sucked over from an alternate reality into ours?
Apparently.
No. See, the Patrick Swayze thing they need to reboot is a full movie version
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
of the Saturday Night Live skit
The
with
Chippendales
Yeah,
one?
he-
yep with Patrick
He's
Swayze
an
and
actual
Chris Farley.
Chippendales dancer. Yeah.
If you guys have
love that
never
one.
seen
I've
that
never
sketch,
heard of it.
it's what you've never heard of it.
No.
It is one of the greatest sketches in Saturday Night Live history. Yeah, look
watch
up
it right now.
Patrick Swayze, Chippendales, SNL. It's one of the greatest sketches ever done on the show. I want to see a full movie version of that. Who would play those two roles today? I have no idea, but somebody make it. All right, what's next?
From T3 Collects. Hey, John and crew. Do we think Kung Fu Panda 4 will take over Dune Part 2 for the #1 spot over the weekend?
It very well could. And here's why. Because Dune is going into its second weekend. So it's going to make, I mean, if it only takes a 50% drop, which is rare for a movie to only take a 50% drop in its second weekend. But if it only takes a 50% drop, that means it's going to make $40 million,
Yeah, 40.
right? Can a family legacy IP film like Kung Fu Panda make more than $40 million this weekend? Sure it could.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying it will, but yeah, it's a very real possibility that
Last one opened to 41.
and it's been a while.
Yeah.
So
It's
it
been a
could. I still think Dune will be the #1 at the box office, but yeah, it's very, very possible that that Kung Fu Panda 2 could, in its opening weekend, could take the #1 spot.
Shout out to T3.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
From Starvos. With the passing of Akira Toriyama, which manga author influenced you the most?
Honestly, none for me.
Ooh, I can never remember their name, but Sailor Moon, whoever wrote Sailor Moon.
Oh, really? You're a big
Yeah,
Sailor Moon
I'm a
girl?
huge Sailor Moon fan. I have all the manga. I have the action figures. That X-Men and the animated Spider-Man were all my kind of gateway drugs into nerddom.
All right, what's next?
From Jamie, with Bob Iger saying they're going to be cutting back on the amount of projects in production, what Marvel or Star Wars projects do you think could get scrapped? P.S. Greatly appreciated the gifted membership.
Yeah, we had a
Jamie.
lot of gifted memberships on the show the other day. Well, yeah, so Bob Iger came out and said that they have quietly killed a couple of projects that they didn't publicize that they killed. On the Star Wars side, I think the most likely is probably ones we haven't really heard much about. The Taika Waititi one and the Kevin Feige one. I think those are probably ones that got killed. On the Marvel side, I'm not really sure, but like I'm sure one or two of them got scrapped, and there were probably Disney Plus projects, to be honest with you. But
Don't say it. Don't say Blade got scrapped.
you know what? I don't think they're going to scrap Blade. They
Yeah.
just
Good.
they've put too much time
Yeah.
into trying to get this thing up and running to abandon at this point. So unless Kevin Feige decides it no longer fits with the story of the MCU as a whole, I don't think Blade is going to be one that gets the cutting room floor. All right, what's next?
From Jose, a live-action Watch Dogs film is in the works. Sophie Wilde will star in the film. I don't know who that is or what that is.
I don't
Watch
know.
Dogs is a video game that was.
It's a video
Oh,
game.
okay.
Yeah, it's all about the like spying on government, right? Like a teen. It's
Yeah, it has a lot to do with like hacking and stuff like that. So yeah,
like a hackers.
I mean,
All right.
there's been other movies like it.
Okay.
So I'm not like hugely excited.
Oh, and
for
Mr.
It, but-
I gifted a membership in there.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr. I.
yay.
Appreciate that, man. All right, what's next?
From Freddie, will you ever give The Bad Batch a look? I know you think it's shit, but it's pretty good. Heck, I needed therapy after the season 2 finale. Thanks.
No, it's shit. First of all, I thought when they did the final season of Clone Wars, yeah, the whole Bad Batch part of it was just utter garbage. And then Lucasfilm sent me this big package, this big box, and inside was all this Bad Batch swag. This is when the series was coming out, when season 1 was coming out. With like, they even sent me Bad Batch socks, which I gotta admit were actually pretty cool, and a whole bunch of stuff, and and the new season. So it was. I think they gave me access to I think it was the first 3 episodes. Anyway, so I watched the first couple of episodes, and I was like, this actually ain't bad. Like the first couple of episodes of Bad Batch, and then the 3rd episode came. And I'm like, oh, no, there it is. This is trash. And then I watched one more just to make sure. I'm like, no, this is trash. And I just gave up on it. So, hey, listen, I can't say that it doesn't get better because I didn't watch the other one. So I can't say that. But I saw enough to know that it's not for me. And if you enjoy it, that's awesome. I celebrate that. But it's definitely not for me. All right, what's next?
From Paul, hello, John and crew from Scotland.
Ooh, nice.
I'm loving Shogun so far. I hope we get a season 2 of this, and I would love to see Ken Watanabe show up in Shogun. It'd be so cool. Have a nice day, guys.
The problem is, what do you do in season 2? Like, if season 1 is the book. So unless they want to just like create something, and with the way it ends, which we won't go into, but look, all I know is that I am loving it. And if I continue to love it, then I won't be mad at the announcement of a season 2. But I think, and I don't know this for sure, this is just me talking off the top of my head. I don't actually know this. My guess is they're treating this as a limited series, just like the one in the 80s was and stuff like that. So I don't think there's going to be season 2, but I wouldn't be mad if there was.
I started watching episode 1 last night, but I was kind of tired, so I fell asleep to the boiling person.
Oh my
Someone's going
God.
boil. And then I woke up a little bit, and then I saw a booby.
How do you fall asleep to the...
and then I saw a little booby, and then I went back to sleep. And then, so I got to rewatch episode 1.
How do you
today.
fall asleep during the boiling scene?
The screams put me just to bed.
Like a lullaby? It was like a lullaby to you? What kind of stuff are you watching at
That
home
makes
at
me
night?
worried that the screams were soothing to you.
No, I just was tired.
Okay.
I was just tired. And I was like, why? No, in my head, I was like, why why do they keep playing the screaming? It went to another scene where people are talking. You still hear it in the background.
Oh yeah, he
Then I
lived
fell
for a
asleep.
long time. He lived for hours and hours and hours. Oh yeah.
You mean it was a girl that was screaming, right?
No, it was a guy.
Oh man, I must have been totally blessed. Okay.
Try from the beginning again. Try from the start
Yeah,
again.
we'll do it again.
All right, what's next?
Shogun.
Shogun. Shogun. Show enough.
From Shadow Knight. Hey, John, going back to the other day on whether or not Paul is the real villain in Dune, I feel that there is a similar theme for Joel in The Last of Us. They may be looked at as villains depending on whose perspective. Your thoughts?
Listen, we had a big, long discussion about that a couple of years ago about how one of the things that I love so much about Last of Us 2 is it forces us to take a step back and look at a bigger picture of what happens in Last of Us Part 1. While Joel may be well-intentioned and motivated by love of this girl and all that kind of stuff, when you take yourself out of the first person that I play this character and he's the protagonist of it, and you step back from that, you're like, oh my God, he does some horrific shit. He hurts many people. He kills a lot of people. And every person he killed had a mother or a dad or a sister or a brother or a spouse or a lifelong love or a son or a daughter. And he's not just killing individuals. He's ruining other people's lives. He's like causing devastation on an untold scale. And what happens, and this is one of the things I really loved about Last of Us 2, when one of those people who he took away someone they loved comes looking for some comeback, for some payback. And I love the fact that they had the guts to do it, that they force us to look at the actions of the hero from a different perspective. Not that it made Joel any less like that we disapprove anything that Joel does in The Last of Us Season 1. It's just that it makes us look at it from a different perspective. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about it.
That's why I hate Jim Halpert
Who's he the villain to?
in The Office.
To who?
Because I liked him at first, and then the more I watched the episodes, I'm like, Jim Halpert is the most evil guy here.
I'm pretty sure there's a compilation called Jim Halpert is a Sociopath.
Yeah,
where
like
you can
I mean,
watch
he
him do
ruined
all the
that
crimes.
marriage.
Dwight?
Yeah.
He tried to undercut Roy. Roy was just in the warehouse doing his thing, never cheating on Pam, and then he had to.
But
make
he
that
treated
move.
he treated
He
Pam like
treated her like
garbage.
shit, though.
though.
Yeah, but still, that's her fault. I mean, she's stuck.
What?
With him. She's stuck with him. I don't know. I'm just kidding. No. But Jim, like he would.
He
like,
waited for
prank-
them to be free.
He
I
would
mean,
prank Dwight. No, he kissed her.
Yeah, he did make a move on her before they
That's
broke
true,
up.
but they were like
To quote Michael, engaged ain't married.
Yeah, true.
All right, but that
Man,
was
we-
her fault.
Yeah.
We gotta talk after the show is done, right? We gotta have a.
I meant not her fault, but she shouldn't have
No,
been
but
with him.
also
She
like
should've-
he doesn't have to be with a schlup.
Yeah, she
That's what
doesn't
he
have to
means.
be
Like,
with
Yeah.
I'm going to translate for Ray.
Oh, I
She
mean,
should have left him.
actually,
Yeah.
Alex in the live chat did point out they were on a break. Roy and her were on a break when Jim made his.
Oh,
move.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So yes.
Yeah, but Jello, stapling the Jello for no reason. Come on.
All right, what's next?
Ray's got some PTSD, man.
He's a bully, man.
From Zeos, hello there, crew. John, in about a month from now, I'm going to be visiting my friends in Rochester, New York. After that, we're driving to London, Canada, where my friends from Michigan will be picking me up, then back home to Arizona. Do you have any restaurants or place recommendations in London, Canada?
First of all, I
London,
love
Canada?
Yeah,
I love London. Yeah,
Extra,
it's not
like you're going to have a long drive, buddy.
it's not too terribly far from the Campea Ranch. Actually,
okay.
it's only about like an hour away from the Campea Ranch.
Man, you should went there.
It's and it's wonderful, but it's been like 15, 20 years since I've been there. My all-time favorite Vietnamese restaurant is there. It was called Pho something.
Okay, if you don't remember, is it still there?
I don't know. It's been like 15 or 20 years since I've been there.
Dang, why don't we go
Yeah.
check to
But
see, man?
By the way, London, Ontario, homegrown, Ryan Gosling was born and raised in London, Ontario. I believe it was London. It was either London or Kitchener. I think it was London. Anyway, have a great time, but it's been so long since I've been there. I can't remember the restaurants that are there.
What was that Italian place that you guys took us
Chicago
to?
style.
I don't like Italian food, but that Italian food
It
was,
was bomb. It was that.
It's happening.
Why are there so
Yeah.
many bad opinions?
No, it's like my
That was
least-
her fault. I don't like Italian food.
It was like
what are we
it's-
doing here?
It's because tomato sauce. I'm not a fan of tomato sauce.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay.
That's it.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll eat anything fettuccine with white sauce. I love white sauce.
But that restaurant, I'll tell you what, it was Chicago style. in Hamilton, Ontario. It is one of the, and as an Italian, they literally had 3 little old Italian grandmothers run the kitchen. And like the food is the best Italian food I've ever had outside of my own grandmother's.
The lasagna had like tons of mozzarella cheese.
Oh, yeah.
On it.
Yeah.
Why I like it.
Ricotta, like, so good. All right, what's next?
From Jumpin' Jiminy Crickets. Hey, guys. I was just wondering, what's your favorite version of the Superman or Supergirl suit?
I actually
My
really
favorite
like the Man
version of the
Steel.
suit is Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I hate the red underoos Superman look. I hate the red underwear look of Superman. But I love, now granted, the Man of Steel took on a kind of a modern trend, which is to give the texture, like the grooves and the texture to the bodysuits. Still, I think that's my favorite iteration of the costume.
We're getting the same thing with the James Gunn, right?
Yeah,
The sneak
textured.
peek, they have
Different
a little
texture, but
on
yeah.
it. I think that's like a Kryptonian texture, probably.
Well, because now it looks silly. Now it just looks like you're putting latex over you if you don't have some texture to it. It kind of looks silly. Like it looks like spandex if you don't put texture to it.
And I did like the last Supergirl in the Flash, her outfit.
Yeah,
I'm not really down with like the skirt and stuff. It never felt like it was like you know, like you can move in that stuff, or like
you can move in a skirt.
right?
Yeah,
tried.
but are you going to fight crime in one? I don't know.
Yeah.
I always felt that way too. I was just talking to somebody about Power Rangers the other night of like, I don't understand why the pink Power Ranger has to have a skirt
That's
over
right.
her pants.
He did.
Like, okay, I know that one's a
I
girl.
remember
Thanks.
when
But there's 2 girls, but then the other one didn't have
That's
that.
because the counterpart for Bandai was a guy because they are all using their supplemental footage.
When I was younger, me and my buddies were like, this is back in the Age of Apocalypse era when we were reading a bunch of comics. The big justification always is like, because even then, as like horned up young guys, we would look at the female comic book characters. And like we'd look at these guys with these like Batman full bodysuit, head to toe armor, this, and you see Superman full bodysuit, blah, and then the girl, nipple covers and a skirt the length of a belt. And
You got to be able to have mobility.
yeah, lots of mobility. But even then, we would always be like, even we as horned up young guys would be like, why must every female superhero character have to have these heaved up cleavage bras and like be scantily clad? And the answer, the cop out answer was always the same thing. It's to distract their opponents. Like, always the same thing.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, because like, you know, Chesty McGriffey, like it's like you're distracted, right? You're distracted.
Cousin to
Fisty
Huey
McNugget.
McFisty, yes.
Was it Fisty McNugget? Something like that.
And it's just, anyway.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And not that I complained when I was a kid at all, but it did
just
seem
figured they
weird.
sweat
Like,
more.
like if Storm were around, she would not wear that. Anyway, that was just kind of my thought. All right, what's next?
from Scotty Doesn't Know. How long do you think Marvel Studios and Sony will argue over the plot for Spider-Man 4?
First of all, neither side has ever said that they are arguing. That comes from, not saying they can't be true. I'm just saying they come from unconfirmed reports, otherwise known as rumors. That being said, all I know is that the only consistently good movies that Marvel has made in the last number of years are the ones they've made in cooperation with Sony. The Spider-Man films have consistently had a certain level of excellence. There has been no consistent level of excellence with the MCU over the last couple of years. There's been moments of excellence, absolutely. But just saying, the only thing that's been consistently at a certain standard of excellence have happened to be the movies they've worked in cooperation with Sony with.
And can we assume that
So they'll figure it out.
Can we assume that Sony would have the final word anyways?
No.
Oh, so that contract that they signed really...
I don't think they have a lot to say. I don't think they have final word.
Oh.
Okay. But they'll get around to it. They'll figure it out. And you know what? Once they do figure it out, it's probably going to be awesome. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
From Statistics Stud.
Statistic studs.
Hi, John, Ray, Chris, and Jonathan. If Deadpool is good, but the other TV shows coming out this year are not, do you all think it may impact going into 2025? Thank you.
Okay, so let's say, for example, that, and they haven't even given a real release window yet for Ironheart, which honestly, I hope they just scrap. But we got Agatha. So let's say we've got Agatha, which I'm very excited about, and Deadpool. the influence of the goodness or badness of Deadpool is 10 times greater than the influence of the goodness or badness of Agatha.
Mm-hmm.
So if Agatha stinks eggs, but Deadpool's awesome, no one's going to care that Agatha stunk eggs. If Agatha is fantastic, like we're talking WandaVision level fantastic, but Deadpool stinks, no one's going to care that Agatha was great. It's really all riding on what people's perception of Marvel going into 2025 is going to be, is all dependent on Deadpool. It's going to be great if Agatha's good. It's going to be great if somehow they release Ironheart and it's good. That's great. That's wonderful. You'd rather them good than not be good. But as far as everybody's overall general perception of how good is Marvel doing right now, how healthy, what's our momentum going into 2025? It's only Deadpool. If Deadpool sucks, nothing else will matter. If Deadpool's great, nothing else will matter. I don't know, Chris, do you think I'm underselling how much influence like an Agatha or an Ironheart could have?
I mean, I think it just comes down to the dollars on this, honestly, right? How good the TV series are on streaming platforms don't have as much of an impact as the actual box office potential, right? Because you're really just trying to see if you can get more subscribers onto your platform. I do think,
but as far as like people's perception of the MCU going into 2025,
I think if these are stinkers, people are going to totally be tuned out to the shows because they have been more missed than hit.
Right.
And it seems like they keep trying to kind of set us up with more and more shows, right? We've got Agatha, we maybe have Ironheart, we've got Daredevil, et cetera, et cetera. So if they don't stick the landing, as most Marvel shows haven't, I think most people will check out.
And plus, the show's never affected my perception of or at least cinematic wise, like the movies. Like I've skipped some shows and then gone straight into a movie, like a Marvel movie,
which you should be able to do.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have that much impact, I don't think, on the overall. I think, yeah, you're right with the Deadpool thing.
Yeah, it's going to all be about Deadpool. And listen, if Deadpool wasn't coming out this year, the influence of Agatha and anything else would be higher. But with all eyes are on Deadpool right now, right? So it's got to kill it. It's got to kill it.
And by 2025, all of us might just have a clean slate without having so many Marvel movies like in a year. And like
not if Deadpool stinks. We won't have. Nobody's going to have a clean slate if Deadpool stinks. It's just,
if it stinks in 2025, whatever it is, Blade comes out May, whatever, the first movie. You won't still be excited for it? I would.
The excitement level, the excitement level of the general movie going on will be a lot lower.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then if Blade is great. But I mean, if you're talking about momentum going into 2025, it's all about Deadpool. All right, let's take one last question today.
All right, from James Freeman, what's everyone's projection for Dune 2 this weekend?
42.
That's a big question, right, John? You've been saying, you've been talking about this
second weekend drop
all week.
Now remember, a healthy drop off from week 1 to week 2 is anywhere between 50 and 60%. If you go over 60% drop, that's a little bit worrying. If you go under 50% drop, that's amazing. I think Dune 2 will make about 40. So like a 51, 52, 53% drop. Jonathan, you think it's going to make 42?
42.
So
answer
Chris?
To the universe. Yeah, that's a great number. 42.
Yeah, 42. The answer is 42. Ray? 100 billion.
I can't tell you. I'll go 43.
All right. So the high is going to be 43. The low is going to be 40. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Want to remind you guys and let you guys know that a little bit later this afternoon, we are going to be doing an open mic. So if you guys want to come back and join me for some further casual movie conversation, come on back and join me for that. That'll be about 4:15 this afternoon. By the way, I want to just mention Patrick Stewart in the live chat just fired in like a $10 super chat badge just to be supportive. Thank you, Patrick.
Stewart, huh?
Steward.
Oh.
Steward.
I was going to say.
With the D.
You're still special.
Make it so.
You're still special.
Make it so.
That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for being here. So for Ray Ora,
Have a good weekend.
Jonathan Voico,
Later.
the delightful Chris Carr,
Be safe, be kind.
my name.
Yeah.
This
See?
one was
Nine.
My name is John
Talking's hard.
Campea. Thanks so much for being here. Until next time, my friends,
Vomit McFisty.
Pukey McFisty.
Oh yeah, that one.
Pukey.